The sound of her words struck me with the force of a hammer, knocking the breath from my lungs before I even processed them. "I'm inviting Caleb to the wedding," Sarah declared, her voice calm but edged with defiance. She leaned casually against the kitchen counter, the fluorescent light bouncing off the diamond on her finger, turning it into a sharp reminder of what we were building, or what I thought we were. "You need to grow up about it, Mark." My hand shook around my coffee mug, liquid sloshing against ceramic as though it, too, couldn't hold steady under the weight of her announcement. I stared at her, desperate to find some crack in her composure, some hint that this was a cruel joke. But her hazel eyes were unyielding, steady as stone. The kitchen, once our place of shared laughter and plans, felt suddenly suffocating, the air thinning as if the room itself had conspired against me. For months, we had stood side by side in this very space, debating guest lists, imagining our first dance, and laughing until our ribs ached over spilled wine. That same counter had once been a canvas for our dreams. Now, it was a stage where a truth I had never rehearsed was being performed. Caleb. Her former boyfriend. 3 years of her life entangled with him, a name scarcely mentioned in the 2 years we had been together. Why now? Why invite him? My mind spun, but all I could manage was a broken whisper, "Why?" She sighed, almost impatiently, brushing a strand of auburn hair from her face. "He's a friend, Mark. Not the monster you've made up in your head." Her tone was clipped, almost scolding, like a parent addressing a sulky child. "We stayed in touch. He's happy for us. It's not a big deal." But the way her gaze darted away at the word friend, the way her fingers worried the edge of a napkin, it was more revealing than her explanation. It was as if a warning light had switched on, one I couldn't ignore. Doubt seeped into me, burrowing deep where love had lived so comfortably. In the days that followed, silence filled the spaces between us. We went through the motions, seating charts, floral arrangements, tastings, while the air around us grew heavy with what wasn't being said. I noticed small things. Her phone, always face down. The quick step outside for calls she didn't want me to hear. A muffled laugh through the glass of the balcony door. Each instant seemed minor on its own, but together they fed that growing seed of suspicion. One evening, I found her curled on the couch, phone glowing in her hands. Shadows played across her face, making her seem both familiar and foreign. I asked, as casually as I could manage, "Who are you texting?" My voice came out more desperate than I intended. She flinched, just slightly, then locked her screen. "Just a friend. Work stuff." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I nodded, forcing myself not to press. But that night, as her steady breaths filled the silence beside me, I lay awake imagining Caleb's name lighting up her screen. 3 weeks before the wedding, I stumbled onto proof. While searching for a pen in her desk, I uncovered a folded note beneath receipts. The edges were soft from being handled, the ink written in her unmistakable hand. "Meet me at the cafe, 7 p.m. Don't tell Mark." The date was 2 months past. My heart stuttered. That cafe wasn't random. It was where we had shared our first date, where her laughter had disarmed me and her kiss under the street lamp had sealed the promise of something lasting. My stomach churned as I put the note back, trying to convince myself there was another explanation. But the lie tasted bitter in my mouth. From then on, I watched her with new eyes. Errands that stretched into hours. Explanations that rang hollow. Smiles that didn't quite reach her gaze. I wanted to demand answers, but fear gripped me. What if my suspicions were unfounded? What if my doubt destroyed what remained? So I waited, silently poisoning myself with every observation. On the eve of our rehearsal dinner, I couldn't hold it back anymore. Folding napkins for the reception, the words burst from me, "Are you still in love with Caleb?" They hovered in the air like smoke, impossible to take back. Sarah froze, her hands twisting the napkin so hard her knuckles went pale. "What?" Her voice was low, dangerous. I confessed everything, the note, the calls, the unease gnawing at me. For a moment, her face softened, threatened tears, and I almost reached for her. But instead she laughed. Not warmly, but sharp and cold. "You're paranoid. Caleb and I are just friends." The note. "It was for a surprise I was planning for you." She threw the words like lifelines, daring me to grab hold. Yet her eyes told a different story. Not guilt. Not shame. Defiance. A silent dare. Let it go. The following evening at the rehearsal dinner, I saw him. Caleb stood in the glow of the sunset, tall and self-assured, as if he belonged. Sarah greeted him with a hug that lingered, her hand pressed against his arm while they shared some private memory. My chest tightened as I watched her laugh with him, the world spinning while the other guests remained oblivious. Later, when she left saying she needed air, I followed. I hated myself for it, but I trailed her car to the cafe. And there he was, waiting. I stayed hidden across the street, watching their animated exchange, the way he leaned toward her like someone who truly knew her. Then they embraced, and it wasn't casual. It was charged, aching, full of history and things left unsaid. My heart fractured, jagged and raw. That night, I said nothing. I lay beside her, a hollowed shell of the man who once believed her love was unshakable. The morning of the wedding arrived bright and cruel. Sarah glowed in her dress, her smile radiant but practiced. Standing at the altar, her vows washed over me like waves I couldn't stand against. I looked into her eyes, searching for the woman who had once felt like home, and instead saw the shadow of Caleb. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, my hand rose before I could stop it. The collective gasp from the guests drowned out my heartbeat. Sarah's face drained of color, her bouquet trembling. I whispered, broken but clear, "I saw you with him, Sarah. Last night." "I know." My words cut through the silence like a blade. She didn't deny it. She didn't defend herself. She just stood frozen, while the truth bared itself for all to see. I walked away. Out of the church, into the sunlight, my chest hollowed out and aching. I didn't know what lay ahead, only that the man who walked out was not the same one who had walked in. Trust had shattered, love lay in ruins, and the glow of that cafe's neon sign burned in my mind as the place where I lost her, and perhaps found a truer version of myself in the wreckage.